Back at the end of 2022, my husband and I became the official owners of this messy, overgrown, mature 1930s garden, which was one of the biggest selling points and made us purchase this property. The heaps of potential paired with our abundance of excitement and ideas, with also zero garden experience between us in our back pockets, we went in fully aware we were going to figure this whole mess out as we went along. In this video, I'm going to show you the entire start to finish project, and I will be telling you exactly how much we've spent at the end. Diving straight into the demo phase, and we created many fires to help empty out the indoors and also open up the garden to explore just how much land we had. As you've seen, the garden had a fair few hidden areas and an excessive amount of outdoor structures, so we were starting with a very cluttered space. To save costs, both back then and down the line, and to just add to the already messy aesthetic, we kept absolutely everything we could use for rubble. The idea of having to pay to have it all taken away, only to later on buy rubble back for our future extensions, was infuriating. There was no way we were going to do that. We were, however, in the market to add to our budget pot and started selling things like this summer house, which then drove us on to clear more and do, in very loose terms, some free landscaping with the help of in-laws and our friends. We then became desperately in need of a skip because of just how much was being cleared indoors. During this entire project, we have only needed 2 skips plus a clearing company, which I will get into a bit later on. During this time, my husband was recovering from breaking both of his legs, and so I was splitting my time between supporting him in the hospital to also being here to keep the momentum going. As you can imagine, it was a really difficult time, but I'm so grateful in a way to have had this project to distract myself, and thankfully we had lots of support and enough belief/delusion in ourselves to keep going. 2025 February. The rubble pile had grown in size and had been taken over by weeds. The majority of the garden was inaccessible at this point. The greenhouse had been given away and we were now down to 2 sheds. And we were already looking forward to making the garden more usable and nicer for this summer. Motivated to bring our initial dream garden ideas to life, the first logical step of the year was to get rid of all the rubbish we'd held on to for far too long, which Clearabee collected. You tell them a general idea of what you're getting rid of, you put it in a pile, and they come and pick it up. You're charged by area, which they measure in their van, and it was honestly one of the easiest services we've used. We then hired a digger and my father-in-law for a week to move all of the rubble to the back of the garden. To have a clearish space that we could plan and design exactly how we wanted to use it was incredibly exciting, and it truly felt like we'd hit a huge milestone in this project. After the costs of hiring the digger, plus using up the many bags of type 1, we needed a break from the back garden, both mentally and financially, and we decided to shift our focuses on the free/low costing projects for a couple of months. We went through some samples and figured out what top gravel we wanted at some point. We started digging up part of our front garden, used the outdoor space to work on smaller furniture pieces, whilst also making lots of big progress indoors. Late April, and we were ready and eager to get back into that garden to pick up where we left off. Our focus was on prepping an area for an exciting addition to the space, a lawn. Being dog parents without a patch of grass in the garden was becoming quite frustrating as we constantly battled with dirty paw prints every time Indy went out. A first world problem, but rather pressing to resolve. The weeds had also come back with a vengeance, so I spent a few weeks slowly removing them and their roots, as well as discovering buried bricks, large stones, and even random items left over from the rubble pile. We were then able to put down fresh membrane and level the foreground of where the grass was to be laid. At some point, this section will be taken up by our extension, another big project which may happen next year. And with that in mind, we didn't want to do anything too permanent or for it to be a waste of money. We just wanted it to look pretty and to finally implement our own personalities, especially as it had felt like a building site for so long. And just having a small, presentable and finally usable space was going to give us that gratification we needed. After raking the entire footprint of where the grass was going, it was lawn time. I will be honest, I was slightly concerned how much space this lawn was going to take up, considering our other garden plans, but it has all worked out perfectly. We are still over the moon with it, and instead of resting like I probably should have at the time, it spurred me on to sort out the rest of the areas, particularly the foreground sections. Somehow we managed to add even more rubble to that pile. In just 24 hours though, this foreground section went through its biggest transformation. Most of these pots were left in the shed by the previous owner, which we were hugely grateful for. This is the first time we have joint owned a garden, and we had no idea just how expensive plant pots can be until we purchased the 2 tin planters and the teal blue ceramic one in the middle. My goodness, but they have made such a big difference. It was now a couple of months away from my birthday in August, and I was aware hosting a garden party for it was looking quite doable. Achievable even. How difficult could it be? Famous last words. Well, it turned out quite difficult, but we will delve into that a little bit later on. I was, however, incredibly lucky to work with and be gifted one of my wish list garden items, outdoor festoon lights from Olney, who were also amazing to work with, by the way. These festoon lights seriously elevated our garden and made it feel more magical and closer to the homely type of garden we've been envisioning from the beginning, and it's so cozy when they turn on in the evenings. It was time to fully embrace the progress we had made so far, and we headed to a garden show, which was actually quite overwhelming when you don't really know what you want or what will work, or if you're basically newbies like us. So far our selection has continued to thrive, apart from 2 or 3, but I think we did quite well, to be honest. With the garden looking pretty and summer literally around the corner, we were desperate to create an area for a table and chairs. I was dreaming of alfresco dinners and working outside, and this little corner was the perfect spot. For a while it'd become our dumping area, as we still have so much stuff to sort through. Some of it left by the previous owner and other bits lent to us, and as you can imagine it's been hard to keep things tidy. However, in just 24 hours, after more removing, clearing, raking and spreading type 1, it transformed into a still rough around the edges but now totally functional blank canvas. This was also the first time I'd actually been able to get to this corner of the garden, and surprisingly there's still more space to clear and figure out, which we find quite exciting. There's still more things to discover. My absolute favourite part of any project, and the process that feels the most me, is adding in all of the finishing decorative touches, and this really levelled up our now outdoor alfresco seating area. Of course we're nowhere near finished, but it has made all of the difference. And now this is where we're at in August 2025. It looks like a completely different space compared to 2022, and we honestly couldn't be prouder of everything we've achieved. Are we done yet? Not at all, but yes for this year. I'm also so glad I did go ahead with hosting a garden party for my birthday, despite going through multiple waves of doubt due just to all of the hard work that needed to be done. On the flip side of that, not wanting to miss out on having people over, so we got there in the end. So now, let's get into the costs. From everything you've seen, the grass, 2 skips, 1 use of the clearing company, the digger for a week, copious bags of type 1/sharp sand, the poles for the festoon lights, plus all of our wish list items like the fire pit, table and chairs, the egg chair, and the plants, we have spent £4,500. Good golly, that makes me feel quite sick actually. I will be doing a plans for the garden video early next year, but until then there's more to do in the front garden and of course indoors. So please do subscribe and please give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much again for watching. Take care, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye!